All right, everybody. We're getting people in as we are speaking. My name is Dino Roberge. I'll be the host of this event. Um, just to welcome everybody. We're going to wait probably a minute or so. I'm seeing people jumping in right now, so that's good. Welcome to the maintenance care webinar on preventative maintenance. Just so that you know, this is recorded. So if ever you want a copy of it, it'll eventually be on our YouTube channel. If you have an account with YouTube, you can just go search for any maintenance care videos and join our network and just see all the videos. And this one will be probably downloaded in a couple of weeks from now. So welcome aboard. Um, Before we start, though, just want to explain to you that we will take questions related to this specific subject matter that we have, which is preventative maintenance, via the Q&A function on this Zoom video conference. So I'll be moderating, sorry, that question period after the presentation. In the meantime, I would urge that you send all your questions related to preventative maintenance only, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. That's my colleague will do. Without further ado, let me introduce her to you, all of you. Her name is Susan Fowler. She's our senior trainer at Maintenance Care, and she will guide you through this presentation on preventative maintenance. Susan, take over. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dino. Okay, so our focus today for everybody that's joining the call is to talk about preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance is a little bit of a misnomer, right? Because most people think about preventative inspection wise, but there's really three types of what we would call preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance that's equipment based, compliance, right? When it comes to compliance, there's certain things like fire safety systems and things like that. But most people don't understand either that the system can be used to create anything on a schedule. It might not fall into those other two categories, but it does fall under that, that preventative maintenance or scheduled maintenance. So when you're setting up a preventative maintenance task, as we will walk through today in the training on this or the webinar on this, you need to have certain information ready to go. And it takes a bit of planning to do that. So when you're starting to look at your preventative maintenance, you're going to break it down into those three categories: equipment based, building based, right? Again, building can be compliance, and then anything on a schedule. And then from there, you're going to start building your list based on what your requirements are and what your responsibilities are for your specific building. If you're only responsible for the equipment in your building, if you're a manufacturing facility, as an example, and all you are responsible for is the machines and the inspection and testing and checking of the machines, then you would set up your schedule accordingly. If you are also responsible for the building, then there are certain things you want to track within the system. Then you would start setting that up too. And then you can also incorporate anything done on a schedule. So in the preventative maintenance part of the system, over to the left, you will see all of the different navigation points that are available within maintenance care. There's 5 navigation points. If you need access to the scheduler part of the system, then whoever is a master user in your account can accommodate you and change you so you have access to the scheduler. But the scheduler is where we call PMs or preventative maintenance resides. When I click on the scheduler part of the system, I have the schedule. So that's the list. That's a list format of your scheduled maintenance that you either have already pre-populated in and you're going to activate it, or you're building your schedule from scratch within the system. The chart is sort of like a carryover from our older classic version. The chart basically gives me the ability to see my scheduled maintenance, but in sort of like almost like a breakdown of day specifics. And then we have the planner. So the planner is a calendar based, be able to see daily, weekly, monthly on what is coming up in my schedule. And we're going to talk about all 3 of these sections so you can understand and help yourself navigate the system. But we're going to go to the scheduled list first. Okay. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice when you log in and you go to the scheduler, you want to be able to make sure that you see the information that you need to see. And throughout the whole system, you are probably already aware of this, is that you have the ability to adjust your column view in any part of the system. Most of you probably have done it in your task list, right? You've been able to adjust that default view to provide you the information that you want to see. The same comes into play with the scheduler part of the system, is there is a default view for column settings and you can adjust it. Just like in the task list, if you mouse over any one of the columns, you'll see it sort of changes color, and then it allows me to tell the system what I want to see. So to change it from your default to what you want to view, it depends on the information that's going to be important to you. I tend to start with 3 columns: the title of the PM, the fire date or the potential fire date of the PM, and the status, paused or active. Paused means it's not yet activated in the system. Active means it's active, and we'll walk through how to structure and build your preventative maintenance so it'll make more sense. You can add more information. So if you get into the really advanced preventative maintenance schedule, you can add whether or not there's an outside vendor, who it's assigned to, whether or not there's equipment attached. All of that can factor in to a building area, a task type, so you can add more information. But if you're in the building phase or the activation phase, if it's already been pre-populated in your system and now you're going to be activating it, then you can walk through and have those column views depending on the information that you want to see. If you are building your preventative maintenance list, you're starting from scratch, again, you have to determine how the information is going to come in and what information is going to be important. We're going to be walking through the basics of building a preventative maintenance task, and then we'll go through to building a preventative maintenance task to activating it to a schedule. Okay, so you'll see this add new button throughout all of maintenance care. Almost every section or subsection that you go into in your navigation allows you to add. So we're going to add our preventative maintenance task. There are 4 sections to a preventative maintenance task or a scheduled task, however you want to do it. And we're going to walk through the information that you can add to it. It can be very simple or it can be more advanced. The title of the PM. Most of the time we use the same wording: inspection, test, check. All of those are things that are pretty normal when it comes to equipment or building. And again, it's whether it's an inspection or is it a check or is it a test. If it's a generator, for an example, you have tests. You have a full load test, a partial load test. So again, you're going to use the same wording or terminology that you would use or comes in from any sort of documentation that you might be using or structuring your PMs from. I like to actually structure mine in a very clean and standardized way, and I'll explain why when you're building your preventative maintenance. So you're going to put in the title. Okay, so I'm going to put in, let's see, ice machine. And this is going to be an inspection, or it's going to be a cleaning, because ice machines, they fall under the water management program in most places, so they have to be cleaned. Now, this can be done in-house. It can be done by an outside contractor. We can talk about it. If I was doing fire extinguishers, I would do the same thing. I would do fire extinguisher check or inspection, right? So again, I'm putting in my title based on what it's supposed to be. The other thing I like to do, and I do recommend this because it's extremely helpful, is to put in the timing. Is it necessary in your preventative maintenance structure? No, it's not necessary at all. But the trigger date and schedule will actually structure it and trigger it based on the timing. It's more visual. When you're setting up a schedule, you're always thinking about who's going to be doing the work, because they might not know how often something happens. If something is daily, weekly, or monthly, it might mean they don't know when it's going to happen. So it just adds a little bit more information to the preventative maintenance task. Okay. Then you're going to put in your facility. So your facility license, everything is mapped to your license. It has to be populated. It won't let you complete the PM without it being populated. Then we get into the area. So again, depending on how your system is set up, some preventative and scheduled maintenance is specific to an area, but it doesn't need to be. So area can be left blank because it might encompass the whole building. But if it's something specific to like a kitchen, or again, a specific piece of equipment that resides in a specific part of your building, then you would add that in. Then you're going to add your task types. Remember, all of these have already been set out in your system. This is also an opportunity to, if something needs to be added as a task type, this is an opportunity to look at that and see whether or not you may be missing something that is very applicable to your scheduled maintenance. I'm just going to go in and put mine under general maintenance. But actually I'm going to change that because it's not general maintenance, is it? It's fire safety. And then we have classification. So classification can be built into your system for two different ways, really. It can be put in on a reactive side, but it also can be put into allowing you to filter more to things that might fall under different compliance regulations. So you could create a task classification called compliance or audit, and only certain PMs would fall under that. And then you could filter your report or filter your task list based on what that classification would be. If you need more information on how classification can be structured within the system, the online wiki guide will walk you through that. So again, it depends on how you're structuring and building your preventative maintenance. Again, it can be specific to a room. Then we get into the actual comments section of the preventative maintenance task. In a work order, the comment section is what somebody has submitted, right, to tell you what's broken so you can fix it. The comment section of the preventative maintenance task is to build the due diligence in. You're setting expectations. If you're attaching a document in the system, then reference that the document is attached. Even though there's a little paperclip, right? Usually, if you have that in your visual, it would show it. If you're linking to a SharePoint drive where documents may reside or a policy may reside, or in some cases, some of our customers link to manufacturers' sites, always reference it in the comments section, because then you're pointing the person to where you want them to go. And then there's never a question on what might need to be done. And then structure your due diligence on expectations. I like to number things because it's a reference. If I reference back to, if I have 4 instructional details here that I want followed, then I can reference back. If something needed to be fixed in number 3, as an example, then in my notes of the task when it triggers, I can reference that there was an issue with number 3 and I resolved it. So again, number your instructional information. So we're going to check for functioning of extinguisher. Now I can get as detailed as to, sign the card or initial the card. That all is good. It is functioning properly. And again, I love spell check in here just for everybody. It's great. All right. Okay. So now I've put that in and I can add more of my instructional information. It's not specific to an area unless I want to structure my preventative maintenance to an area. So for example, if I want to set up my preventative maintenance by floor and I want all of the extinguishers on the first floor done this week, in this year or this month, and then I want to structure my next preventative maintenance for extinguishers for my next floor for the next week, I can structure it however I want. Or do I want one encompassing preventative maintenance task that will trigger based on the timeline? So again, you can structure it however you want, referencing again that online wiki guide. Then we have duration. Duration is time spent. Remember, it can be done either here and pre-populated, or it can be populated when the task is complete on the task list side. It depends on how you want to work here. A lot of manufacturing actually put in the time for inspection as pre-populated, and then if there is an issue with a piece of equipment, that time would increase if something needed to be repaired. It's an optional field. It's not a mandatory field. So again, it's up to you on whether you want to pre-populate for setting the expectations for time, and if that's important to you. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is structure the schedule. So daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, semi-annually, seasonal. There's all sorts of different types of timing that can be set here in the schedule. You can structure it based on a time of day. So normally I would say if this is something that is to be done or as part of the routine, you probably want to structure it to trigger into your task list first thing in the morning. It might be that this is a shift related preventative maintenance task and it's done in a second shift. You would trigger it based on the timing of that shift. Okay. So then you have the ability to build the schedule. You can put it in as a one time. So if this is done every 3 years, you could put into your notes or the comments section that this is to be completed every 3 years. And then you get into the daily and weekly. So again, you pick your day of the week. If it's weekly for all your months, or if it's all days or certain days, you would pick that to structure. This is a monthly task. So I'm going to move down here to this part of the system for the schedule. I can pick a specific day of the month. If I want this to come out the first of the month, I can structure it that way. If it's normally done around the 7th or 8th of the month, I can structure it that way. A lot of our customers actually prefer this, and this allows them to structure when it happens within the month. So it gives them a little bit more flexibility. If you sometimes schedule something on a specific day of the month, it might be a Saturday or Sunday or a holiday, and it might not work with your schedule, but it can always be adjusted. So again, let's say I want this to trigger on the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday of every month. I can also have it structured where I can have it trigger the last day of every month. Days of months differ, right? Sometimes it's 30 days, 31s, and if it's a leap year, it could be 27 or 28. So it always would trigger based on that last day of the month. And then you can structure it to start every so many days, every 10 days, every 14 days. This is really good for structuring it for twice a month. So let's say every 14 days, you want it to trigger starting on the first of the month, and it will start to keep that schedule. So it will trigger basically twice a month or every so many days. And then obviously you would, worry about what days and months it is in there. Then you have the section for initial notes. So initial notes are one of the things that we've probably seen a lot of our customers move away from because it can be an unnecessary information if you've actually created your due diligence properly, but it's adding more instructional information. Make sure that you put your signature in and you mark it completed. You can add whatever information you want in here. It's really up to you. Sometimes a simple checklist is added in here, step 1, step 2, step 3. But we're seeing probably more and more of this left just, for notes when the task actually triggers. Okay. So we've talked about overview, right? An overview is building part of the structure of the preventative maintenance. What it is, the timing, where it is, if it's specific to an area, are you going to add a classification? Is it specific to a room? What is your due diligence, right? Your instructional information. I'm big on instructional information. You need to tell somebody what to do. That also floats back to reporting if that structure is built in, and it also sets expectations. Duration, again, is optional. If you want it to come in pre-populated, you can do that. And then you can trigger your date and schedule based on how it's set up, daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly, however it might be. Initial notes, again, are another option to add additional information if you want to. That part of the system can be used. And then you get into more of the advanced setup of your preventative maintenance. There's lots of things that you can do here. We talked about a couple of them, right? Remember in the comments section, we talked about referencing an attachment or linking to a SharePoint drive. This is where you would do that. The one thing to remember about attaching any document to the system is it has to be saved in the Space Center, which is under the cabinet part of the system. Okay. And then you can pull the document in from there. Okay. The URL link would be linking to a shared drive where a document resides. Okay. But let's start at the very top. Now, part of the system build out is debt set. Any information that you need on debt set is under the wiki guide, and I'll point you there. Okay. When we get more into the advanced preventative maintenance test, there's the ability to add a checklist. There's ability to group equipment. That's all built into the system, and there is instructional information built in. I highly recommend, and I will point you to where you can learn about debt set and where you can learn about group set, but that's more advanced management. If you're in the building phase of your preventative maintenance, I always recommend build your PM list first and then go back and look at more of the advanced part of it, okay? Because you can save your PM and then go back and add to it after it. So you're building the structure of your preventative maintenance kit. But there's lots of things that you can do. Asset codes, you can add a piece of equipment if you've got an asset list in the system. You can also create a grouping. You can add a vendor if this is done by an outside contractor and you want to reference that it is done by an outside contractor. You can as detailed as budget line items. You can pre-assign to a person. You can set it as a priority. So there's lots of information you can do in the advanced component of preventative maintenance. But this advanced component requires pre-planning, right? If you're going to add assets, your assets need to be in the system. If you're going to add a vendor, your vendor needs to be in the system. If you're going to attach any documentation, it needs to be in the system to attach here. So that takes a little bit of pre-planning. If you don't want to use this part of the system at all in the other section, other than maybe pre-assigning it to a person, then that's all you need to do in this part of the system. Once you've got your preventative maintenance task ready, you're going to save. Now, it says I have errors. So I'm going to go back to where it's highlighted on my screen where my error is. And if you remember, I accidentally checked that little circle there when what I really wanted to check was this. So it will prompt you if there's an error, if there's missing information or something that is supposed to be populated isn't populated, then it will flag it for you and you'll see how it highlighted it for me. Okay. So again, I'm going to save. Now, as soon as you save a preventative maintenance task, it is active. You can filter by your active PMs just by going up to the status here and going to active and clicking search. Right? And there's my, I'd always put it at the end, the newest one that you've added. So there it is. There's my fire date and it's an active PM. If I'm not ready for this preventative maintenance task to trigger right now, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go up to my action button and I'm going to pause it. It's going to say, are you sure? And I'm going to go, yes. That's because I'm not ready for this to be live because I'm not finished building it yet. That's how simple it is. All of my paused PMs, I can go in and filter by my paused PMs. And when I'm ready to actually start activating, all I need to do is double click and open it up. Make sure that all of my overview information, my trigger date, any notes that I've added, and any other things that I've added is ready. If it's all good, then I save it and it's now active in my system. What that means then, it's now going to show up in my chart and my planner. My planner is a calendar view of my system. So it's showing me what's coming up in the month of October. It'll show me what's coming up in the month of November, and so on and so forth. What it also shows me is what's coming up on days that I maybe don't want to have it triggered. So for example, do you remember how I said that if you set it to a certain day, it might show up on a day that you don't want it to because nobody does work there. So that means I can adjust my schedule. The really neat thing about the planner is that if I'm looking to adjust my schedule here, I can open it up and I can go in and change my schedule to a different week. Right? And now It's going to move from here and go to where I adjusted my schedule. It's also really good to look at your calendar planner to make sure you're not overloading certain days. So for example, if I'm looking at this, I have a lot of my fire systems triggering. Now this could be for different areas or different buildings. So I want to make sure that a lot of my preventative maintenance is on the day that it's supposed to be. Fire systems standardly are usually done around the same time. It makes it easier for compliance reporting and things like that. But again, I can adjust them to however it is. It's also going to be dependent if it's done by an outside contractor or not. Okay. I mentioned the chart as a sort of a carryover from the old version of maintenance care, the classic version we call it. This actually was the precursor to the planner, and it does the same thing. I can look at what's coming up, and I can also look at the future. It just has a little bit of different structure within the system itself, and I can't edit my preventative maintenance task here. I can see what's paused or active, but I can't edit it like I can in the planner. Okay. And that also means too, in my task list, in my calendar, it will show me what's coming up in the future. I can't edit it yet here because it's not a real work order. Until it triggers and becomes a real work order, I can only see what's coming up. I don't have the ability to actually adjust my schedule. I would have to go back to my planner to adjust my schedule here and look at what's coming up. And I like the monthly one. I mean, there's day, week, month here. Okay. So I go back to my schedule. I have everything built. If I want to, I can also, once I've got my schedule fully built, if I want to, I can export it to my calendar. So I can export it to my Google Calendar or my Outlook calendar. So it shows up in my daily calendar then too. I also have the internal part of the system that we're looking at right now that shows me my planner and my calendar as they're starting to come up in the system. Allows me to be proactive and pre-plan and make sure, well, that's coming up. Am I set? Is the outside contractor coming? Do I need to call anybody? Again, that comes into that work order management that we've already discussed in previous webinars on how to manage work orders properly. Okay, so we basically covered a lot in the scheduler. We can talk a little bit about if you ever need a scheduled list, you can go into reports and pull a scheduled list. You can filter by preventative and scheduled maintenance. So there's lots of things that you can do in the functional part of the system. Is there any questions, Dino? Is there anything else?
Yes. Thank
Perfect.
you for
Let's
this,
cover some of
Susan.
this.
Excellent. Let me go to, I got one from Galt. I am used to the classic layout,
Mhm.
mostly because of the older tabs, task tab. I don't see
Mhm.
that feature on the new layout, which is more, it's not really related to PMs, but go ahead.
Hmm. Okay, so you're in the classic version of the system. And the classic version is still accessible right now. Eventually,
Yeah.
it probably will go away, so everybody be aware
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
So
Warning,
if
warning. It will be.
so here's what the classic version looks like in the system. This is the old version of maintenance care. So if you're looking at the scheduler, this is what it looked like. The functionality is the same. It's just your visuals different. So your column views, again, you can go in and change your column views. It just looks different. You can adjust, and same in your task list. You can adjust. There's a couple of differences in the task list. Sorry, I should need to go back. There's no calendar built in. I'm just going to go to tasks. Um, it's structured differently. The sidebar replaces the ticker, but the functionality is the same. There's just, you don't have all of the bells and whistles that the new Bolt system has as far as the system goes, the calendar view. It has the chart view in the classic version. So your question, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what your question might be on that, then I can
Yeah.
maybe provide a little bit more information.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Thank you,
go
Susan.
back to the Bolt version, which is
Yep.
right here.
Go ahead. All right. I've got two more questions.
Mhm.
One I'll probably ask some clarification, but Rahman is asking, can this be shared with Team as PDF or any other file version? I am not sure. I'm probably guessing he's talking about PMs, but I'll let him or her elaborate on that one. Marlon, I know there is a way to add equipment to your task. Not sure how it is done.
You are correct, Marlon. You can add equipment to the task. You have to get your equipment into the system first. So one of the things that you can do, and if you go to the online wiki guide, and we've talked about this before, this is a fantastic guide built into maintenance care. I love it, and I use it actually. There's little obscure things I can't remember. I'll go in and try and figure it out. So for example, if you wanted to know about preventative or scheduled maintenance, you can use the keyword search. This is my favorite part of the system, right? If I go over here, I can do navigation, but let's do assets as an example. It'll walk you through creating assets in the system. You can reach out to customer support and they can provide help there. There's an asset template that we have, and you can have it uploaded into the system if you've not already uploaded assets into the system. So yes, equipment can be added to preventative maintenance, and I did talk a little bit about that in the scheduled task, specifically in the other section here. There's the ability to add equipment, but the equipment has to be in the system first. Okay, that's the important thing to remember about this, is that the equipment has to be in the system first. So that means you have to add your assets, right? And if you go to the wiki and you go to the asset part of the system, the wiki guide, it'll walk you through the structure of creating pieces of equipment in the system. You can also reach out to customer support. There's a little icon there with a phone, and say that you would like to look at adding your equipment to the system, and they will walk you through all of the different steps to getting that done. Okay? So yes, absolutely. It creates a really good functional transactional record within the system.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. I've got a couple more.
Mhm.
Roman just replied to me that he was answering, or he was talking about PM schedule. Can we share it with the team as a PDF or any other file version?
So if you want to, so the answer is yes and no, okay? When the PM triggers to become a work order, if you have people in your system, so you've added users in the system that you want to assign work orders to, you can share that. If you want to actually just share what the schedule is and how it's set up, if you go to reports, okay, in the section of reports, you're going to go to the reports section, okay? And you can see this in the online wiki guide on how to structure a report. There is a scheduler report here. So it doesn't give you it's not like a report where it tells you that it's been done. This is basically a list of your scheduled tasks. This is a really good one right here. So this is a scheduled plan summary. You can export that as a PDF and you can print it, and it will give you the list of your preventative maintenance that's currently in the system. It will give you a list of what is paused and what is active. And if you wanted to share that with the team, maybe you're looking to see if you need to add some or make sure that everything that's active should be active in the system, that plan summary will give you a complete list of what is in your system right now, and it's easy to navigate. It's a really good working document because you can print it and you can start marking it up, especially if you're looking to structure your PMs, and you could put it, what is paused in there, what's the timing of it, again, how often, and then what are you missing? What are you missing that you want to add to the system? It's a really good way to create yourself an internal working document. But you can absolutely print that summary list, and it has all of the information of what you've populated into your system.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Angela. Hi, Angela. Can the inspection procedure be interactive, meaning I can check off that each task has been completed?
When you're doing your preventative maintenance task, right, just like any other task in the system, you want to document that the work is done. Preventative maintenance can be structured a little bit differently because usually it's part of compliance or equipment-based equipment, so, system-based equipment. So changing status, we already know that's part of the workflow, whether it's preventative maintenance task or it's a demand style work order. So closing the work order, adding your time. If the work order comes in, is it assigned to a person? Because remember, assigning is part of that workflow. You can go in and you can assign the work order. It can come in pre-assigned too. Remember that. But then if you're documenting that the work is being completed, this is a recommendation that I always give when I'm training, is that when the person is closing the task off, right, and they've added their time, if it's been assigned or it's not assigned, you want to put in that it's complete and the signature. Okay. Just like you would on paper. Completed, signature. Close the task off, add time. If it's already been assigned, it'll be documented in here and who did the work. And then you're going to put in completed and signature. Even on a paper form, signature and date and time that it was completed is mandatory. It's the same in the maintenance care system. That is a really good functional part of work order management, but also too, that flows through to your reporting, because notes are part of your structured report, and it will say completed and who completed it and when it was completed. I
Excellent.
hope that
Thank you.
helps.
Yep. Ian. Hi, Ian. Long time no see. Is there a difference between trigger date and fire date?
No,
Oh, good.
the wording's just a little bit different. In here, in the schedule, we use fire date. In the system, when you open up the PM, they use trigger date schedule. So they're basically crossovers, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So trigger date schedule, fire date, people use different wording. So it's really just when is this PM supposed to leave this part of the system and become a work order and reset itself to the next date and time.
Thank you. Lori asks, can you add completed PDFs to a completed scheduled task? Adding a document to the task, I guess.
So there's a couple of ways that you could structure it if I'm understanding your question. If you're attaching a document to the preventative maintenance task, which we already talked about, you need to make sure that you put into the comments section that there is something attached. Okay. If you are still requiring some sort of paper document to be attached after this is done, and it doesn't come in pre-attached, then yes, they just have to open it up and attach the document. Now, when you're attaching a document in a task, you're grabbing it from where you've saved it. It's not in the Space Center. That's different. That's PM structure and built in. This is where you've saved it. So let's say you got something from an outside contractor that you've saved to your own filing system, your computer filing system, and you're grabbing it in and you're attaching it. Your note should always reference that see attached inspection report. The mobile app makes things easier too, because you can scan or even take a picture of a report and easily add it in via the mobile app. Irrelevant of what you're adding, you need to make sure that you're adding it and you're naming it properly, because it saves in the Space Center. So if this is inspection report September 2025, that's what you should name it, because then you can always find it in the Space Center, but it always will be attached to the document. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. All right, one last question. It seems, Grace, hi there. If I enter a ticket that is a preventative maintenance item and a one-off, is there a way to make it appear under PM rather than being counted as a work order?
No. So when you create a task in here, this is considered a demand work order, right? Which means it's not on a schedule. You're adding it as almost like an ad hoc item. The only way to structure it so it falls into your reporting is to use that classification that we talked about. Remember, you can add categories of classifications. A lot of customers create categories like compliance or audit, or it could be state audit, could be any type of audit, and in the system, and they classify it. But remember, the structure of your reporting allows you to filter either by demand work orders or preventative maintenance. Okay, so if you put something in ad hoc, then you would want to make sure that when you are running that report, you're running that report under the classification for all types of work orders. And then if you needed to, you could split your report, but unless it's set up in the preventative maintenance system, the system doesn't know that it's a scheduled task unless it comes from the scheduled part of the system. But that classification will allow you to filter down. Okay, hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. I do not have any more questions. Oh, Grace said thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. And so that ends our webinar for today. Thank you, Susan. Thank you to all participants. We will have another one somewhere later in October. Take a look at, we're probably going to be sending a mass email when it comes up, so stay tuned. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Thank you.